will carry reeds. They have gathered and present them before His Majesty Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini. And the King will deliver the keynote address to the maidens later on today. We now cross over to our correspondent Sbongakonke Mbatha to hear more about the events of the day. Very good afternoon to you, Sbongakonke. Thank you so much for joining us. Now tell us how the day has gone so far.
A very good afternoon to you too. So far, the first reed has been presented to His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini by the Princess She led over 35,000 maidens onto the palace top, and then now, as you can see behind me, some of them were part of the first group that she was leading that have presented their reeds. And then now, moving forward over the course of 2 to 3 hours, groups of maidens will get an opportunity led by their mothers to present their reeds to His Majesty as well. And as the course is very busy, there's a lot of activity, it has been ensured that the security is tight. There's a large presence of a police contingency, and as they're walking up towards the palace, alongside His Majesty, the King, there was support from the ministry, there was support from the KZN Premier, there was support from the KZN Enyokeni Mayor.
Well, I could see maidens dancing in jubilation in the background. Can you tell us generally about the mood at the venue?
I must make mention that when we started off this morning, the weather wasn't exactly promising, but that in itself didn't dampen their moods because they kept on dancing, they kept on keeping high spirits regardless of the weather, because there was some bit of clouds and slight bits of raindrops. But then now, as the day progresses, there hasn't been much rain. It's fairly quite humid, even though there's a bit of clouds. So they are keeping on the spirit to make sure that they enjoy themselves and the day becomes a success.
Absolutely. Are there any surprising participants in this year's ceremony?
There are a lot of participants, and many more are expected to be flocking in throughout the course of the day. Even though now the estimates, they cannot be surpassing 35,000, but a little more than towards 50,000 is expected throughout the course of the day to make sure that they go up to the palace and submit their reeds.
And who are the special guests attending the event? Do you know by any chance?
There is the presence of our KZN Premier, there is Enyokeni Mayor, there's various council leaders, there's newly elected mayors of different districts, there's the presence of the district mayors of Edumbe, Jozini, and all of the other northern municipalities that were recently very conflicted. They've graced us with their presence to make sure that as the new leadership, they are united with the leader, Inkosi Telezi is also in the presence of, in the midst of our dignitaries. They've gathered here to make sure that they are in support of Goodwill Zwelithini, they're also in support of the cultural events proceeding here, and they're also presenting a united front.
Well, perhaps the highlight of today's event is His Majesty addressing the maidens. When is he expected to do so?
Because there's still about 2 to 3 hours of the entire process of the rest of the maidens leaving their reeds on top and having His Majesty receiving them, it is expected around 4 to 5 where he will officially deliver his keynote address.
Now, the Transport MEC for KwaZulu-Natal has vowed to get all unroadworthy buses off the roads. Could that be in response to the accidents that happened in previous years, perhaps?
Yes, of course. Along the way, as we were coming in as of yesterday and the day before, there was a high presence of police and traffic cops and RTIs to ensure that along the way they search for alcohol, they search for defects. That's how some of the defects were actually identified during that process, during that program in particular, to make sure that along the way no accidents are caused, because it's an extra precaution to make sure that what has happened before doesn't repeat itself, and this actually becomes a very peaceful occasion because there's a lot being celebrated in this particular region.
Well, Sbongakonke, thanks indeed for your update. We'll certainly be in touch with you again later on this afternoon.